Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And we are back in studio, and you can hear the excitement in my voice, not because we're in studio. I love going to the different restaurants, but because the gentleman to my right is gracing us with his presence. And that is the executive director of the Mile Square Taxpayers Association, Mr. Ron Simoncini.
Hello,
Peter.
Peter.
It's great to see you, man.
It's great to be back again. I feel like I've been here a lot, but there's a lot going on in Hoboken, a lot to talk about.
So much to talk about. And the reason why you're here is a follow-up. I'm sure many people at home watched my interview with Council Vice President Michael Russo last week regarding the new rent control changes that were made at City Hall in the city of Hoboken.
So you can feel people's eyes rolling back in their heads right now. Oh, no, rent control again. But these are significant matters because Hoboken has a large portion of renters, many of them covered by rent control, many of them not. The regulatory environment is hurting everybody from tenants to property owners to the fiscal people in the city. And this stuff's got to get straightened out. So the more people who know about it, and by the way, this show has driven many, many responses to the council to say, what are you doing?
I appreciate that.
That have really allowed us the scrutiny to say, you know what, people are actually watching this and they're thinking about it. And they're not just hearing, oh, we'll give you rent control and everything's fine. Because everybody knows that's not true.
Absolutely.
And so the council knowing that the public is saying, don't give me any more of that anymore. Give me substance has been very important.
And let's focus on substance. You know, Michael Russo, good friend of mine for 20 years.
Mine too.
I mean, you know, he was
no
on
one's
the show.
more fun in Hoboken
than Mike Russo.
And no one's smarter about politics.
I
and
think he's the best
policy
politician in the city.
Knows every
right.
Detail after detail understands what's happening.
But let's talk about what he spoke about. He said that there wasn't too much controversy with the CPI being changed from 7.5% to 5%. You actually joined up with Cheryl Fallick, another friend of the show from the Hoboken Fair Housing Association, and were pleading them not to pass this. Was it because of the CPI change?
No. So, you know, we looked back and said in the last 26 years, there's been 2 years where the CPI was greater than 5%.
Gotcha.
We don't need to fight. And at MSTA, I know that we've been credited with an awful lot of dynamic representation over the years that's resulted in some people feeling a little tweaked. When somebody comes back and says, those 2 years were between 5 and 6%, do you really want to fight about a 5% cap on CPI?
Right.
The answer is no.
Right.
Existing tenants are our customers. We want them protected.
Absolutely.
We want them to understand their rights. And if the fact of the matter is limiting their annual increase to 5% is equitable, we'll take it. It's the rest of the nonsense that was very difficult to live with.
And let's talk about the rest of the nonsense. He basically said the controversial aspect was keeping the rent the same as the previous tenant before when a new tenant goes into a unit. What's so bad about that?
Well, so there's tiers of that, right? So if I own a building and my aunt lives upstairs from me and I have a $600 rent for my aunt, for a 2-bedroom apartment, she's been in it for 40 years, and I don't take my annual increases, guess what? When she wants to go to Florida, I don't want $600 a month rent anymore.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
Taxes go up for those landlords.
And
exactly.
She's got the avocado refrigerator and stove, and I got to take that out. So I need to be the promise of additional revenue to compensate me to do the improvements I need to do. And by the way, my aunt vacating, she needs some money. Because she's got to go and move someplace else, maybe to assisted living, maybe so, whatever. It's not just that circumstance. There's another circumstance where during COVID, people fled the city and landlords had to take what they could get. And now I dropped my rent from $2,500 to $1,700.
Right.
And now that the market's hot again, I got to stay at $1,700. So all those topics came up and we felt that they were dealt with in a very unsatisfactory, perfunctory, and dismissive way.
And it's not only Michael. I mean, it is, of course, the 4 pro-Bala administration council members that all voted for this. Councilman Cohen, Doyle, Quintero, and Emily Jabor.
It did divide on those lines. I didn't expect much from the other 4, but I thought Michael, seeing Cheryl Fallick and I, who've been forehead to forehead for 15 years,
last week,
together, and saying, you guys, we know this rent control ordinance better than anybody.
Right.
These are changes that have to be made.
Right.
And then to have had them say,
yeah, we don't care. Right.
Like it's an historic moment. And I follow rent control on a national level. I've never seen, I mean, we're not dating or anything, but we're standing there together, holding hands, saying, please, for the benefit of everybody, listen to who knows.
And that is a large, and I mentioned this to Councilman Russo last week, that is a large portion of the population that was saying this is no good. Right. This is going to only hurt. So Ron, he was talking a lot about amendments, and he was talking a lot about possibly changing what's in the ordinance. Is there anything new this week compared to last week?
So Cheryl and I had 5 conditions that we negotiated over a 4 or 5 day period. By the time we finished negotiating, it was the eve of a council meeting. Mm-hmm. We submitted and we asked them to table a vote and consider our amendments. And now I'm going to show a little bit of understanding. Those 5 people who had already decided to vote yes, we show up the night of the meeting. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a chance to read what we have. They have something in front of them that they've been negotiating and talking about. And they have to weigh that. And whatever they all decided to do beforehand, they decided to do at that night. However, after the fact, Councilman Russo called both of us and said, what's in this? Explain it to me.
After the fact?
Well, he couldn't do it before the fact. We were late. And I got to give it to him. I'm not sure what I would have done. I would have respected Cheryl and I being there, and I might have said, I can wait 2 weeks for this. And that's what we hoped they would have done. They didn't do it, but they did come back after the fact. He did come back after the fact. And now he's in agreement with us on the provisions that we're in agreement on. And that doesn't mean Cheryl and I agree about everything on rent control in Hoboken for the rest of the time. We agree on these 5 things. He agreed that the 5 things that we were proposing were reasonable. Does that mean he'll vote yes on them if they come up again? I hope he will. But I have to take it. You come to somebody 5 minutes before a vote and you ask them to table it based on something they haven't seen. I'm going to give them a pass on it, right?
All right. We have less than 2 minutes. I don't know if you want to explain to the audience what those 5 things are.
So basically, in addition to what we'll call the accrued rent, which means a rent that's not being charged to the current tenant, but that's a legal rent that's available to the landlord to charge. If he elects not to, he wants to charge it to the next tenant. That also required, excuse me.
No worries.
Also required that we change the definition of base rent and legal rent. Very technical, but supportive of that. And then Cheryl made the great point. Ron, did you know that when a landlord gets his rent calculated, he doesn't have to tell the tenant? Right. She said, but when a tenant gets the rent calculated, they have to tell the landlord. I want to change that. I was like, that's 100% reasonable. Of course you should change it. And she had a couple of other issues like that were fairness oriented. And if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Right. And so I was like, Cheryl, you don't even have to agree with me on what I want. I'm going to support the things you said because they're inherently fair. And when she came back and said, Ron, this carried rent thing, it's been like that forever. To take it from you when you guys have relied on that to make your business decisions all this time, all it's going to be is lawsuits. And I said to her, look, we don't want to sue. It's expensive to sue. And the 2 of us standing in front of these 9 people, that should be enough for them to say,
right.
A reasonable accord has been met. And I'm telling you, historic. Like I've never seen anybody do it before. And I'm hopeful that now that Councilman Russo's had a chance to review it and, come to the same conclusions we have and spoken with both of us, hopefully next time they'll pass those.
Really quickly, Ron, there was a lot of chatter about a referendum, possibly, if the city council didn't revisit this ordinance. Do you see a referendum happening in the future?
Cheryl wanted to do a referendum to stop this ordinance.
Interesting.
I said to Cheryl, I may want to do a referendum for something else, and I can't do 2 in 1 year.
Right.
I'll be supportive of the idea that this ordinance should be set aside because it's terrible.
Right.
But the fact is, it's giving my members more energy to say, let's just change the whole rent control ordinance. Will we do a referendum this year? It's a very appealing year to do a referendum. There were only 14,000 votes cast last year, so our signature burden is relatively low. And the mood in the town is, you guys, why are we letting people move into town who make $200,000 a year?
Right.
And we're forcing the landlord to rent to them for $1,100 a month when they can afford much more.
Absolutely, yeah.
It makes no sense. It keeps the housing stock depleted. It makes it so that nobody can improve their units. And you know what? People are tired of it. People have heard for too long, oh, but if we give landlords an incentive, they'll move these tenants out. There's never been a harassment case in Hoboken that ever made it to court. Right. Now, is every landlord a great landlord? No. There's issues. We need enforcement. We need it so that if anybody does violate the rules, they're punished heavily. But we also need it so that the marketplace embraces the reality that we're not getting any affordable housing through rent control.
Absolutely.
We need to get affordable housing another way. And we need rent control to at least provide us with the opportunity to make a return and keep our apartments in good shape.
Yeah. Well, Ron Simoncini, the executive director of the Mile Square Taxpayers Association, thank you so much.
Thanks for
I
being
love
here.
your
you guys have been
energy.
great to us. Love being here.
I really,
Thank you,
really
buddy.
do. All right,
Appreciate
folks. Thanks again, Ron. All right, folks. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B. and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B, and we're back at Plaka Sulvaki, located at 62 Newark Street, Hoboken's happening Greek restaurant. You got to come down and try it. And a person that's always happening is my good friend to the right and fellow Seton Hall Pirate. I had to throw that out there, Cosmo.
Appreciate
and
that.
that is Cosmo Cirillo, who's a commissioner and now mayoral candidate up in West New York. Thank you so much for coming, and
Peter,
congratulations on your candidacy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So we took many political science classes together, and he still looks like he's in college. And this,
Oh,
you know,
please.
this is what happens when you have a TV show, Cosmo. I tell you.
Oh, I'm going to have to come on more often.
Exactly. I know. Flattery's great, isn't it? So Cosmo, you've really worked yourself up and you worked for it in the political realm in West New York, in North Hudson, as they like to say. You started as an intern. You became a committee man. Then you were a state legislative aide, and now commissioner, and now looking to run for mayor. I was just wondering if you wanted to just, briefly tell the audience why you decided to go into public service in your hometown.
Sure. So as you said, I started as an intern at the age of 16 in West New York. It was a work-study program through the high school. And I found my passion and love for local government and public service. I saw how much local government can impact the day-to-day lives of our residents. And as a result of that, when I went to Seton Hall, my boss at the time, who was Commissioner Sal Vega, who became the mayor, gave me the opportunity to continue working while I took college courses. And after I graduated, I was offered a full-time position in West New York Town Hall, and I've kind of, progressed from there.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention one thing. He was also a Board of Education trustee.
Yes.
I mean, of course, that's very close to my heart because
Yes.
I was on the Board of Ed here in Hoboken.
Yep.
So, I mean, you gave back to the schools, you gave back to your community, and again, you've really worked your way up. So now you decided to go into the soiree, as I like to call it, for mayor. But you've really, really picked the ticket with so much experience for your commissioners. I guess my first question is, why would you decide to run for mayor at this point in your career?
Plain and simple, I'm running because I care about our community. I care about the future of our town, not only for the next 4 years, but beyond. I think West New York has been lacking a long-term vision for a long time, and I really believe that the team that I've been able to assemble, as you've indicated, has great experience, not only locally, but within their neighborhoods and their community, and really care about making the right decisions for West New York moving forward. And I think, with the team I have, Commissioner Margarita Guzman, Assemblywoman Jimenez, we have two newcomers on, Hiram Gonzalez, who's a veteran in the Marine Corps, but also runs our youth basketball program in town, so he's given back many, many years. And Walter Lopez, who was a healthcare professional during the pandemic,
Wow.
very essential worker, but also is an inspector locally now who's been dealing with quality of life issues for our residents. So these are people that are invested, that are homegrown, that have sent their kids to school in our town, have bought homes in our town, and are really there just for the community.
Exactly. And I believe you were a legislative aide for Angelica Jimenez, if I'm not
was,
mistaken,
yes.
correct?
That's
So
correct.
it's
Yeah.
always good that you're bringing in these people, like you said, with experience. We have about a minute and 15 seconds before a commercial break, and I know that's certainly not enough time, so we can continue it when you come back at the back end of the segment. But the biggest issues facing West New York right now, you've been a commissioner there now for 8 years, I believe?
8 years, yes.
So, I mean, certainly you've seen some issues, you've been able to tackle some issues,
Yep.
but, I know from firsthand experience that you can't do much unless you're at the top, which is the mayor. So some of the issues.
So one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is our recreation programs. Over the last 8 years, I've been able to improve and increase our recreation programs for our not only youth, but also our adult participants as well. West New York hasn't had a recreation center in 20 years.
Wow.
So our team is committed to bringing back a recreation center for our town. All of our surrounding towns have them, and we don't. And it's a place that we can get kids off the street, give them good programming in a fun and safe environment. Secondly, obviously, just like Hoboken that we're in here, parking is a major problem for our residents. So our team is committed to doing a comprehensive plan. Some of our surrounding municipalities have done angle parking. West New York hasn't, and that's something that we really want to include, as well as multi-level decks.
Well, yeah, listen, we do have to go run to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, I do want you to possibly follow up on some of those issues.
Absolutely.
And maybe we'll talk about maybe some of the people you're running against, because that's always fun in politics, right? Anyway, more with Commissioner Cosmo Cirillo of West New York right after this commercial break.
Welcome to Hudson River Care and Counseling. Hello, I'm Dr. Pam Pater-Ennis, the CEO and founder of Hudson River Care and Counseling with over 30 years of clinical social work experience in therapy. We are a progressive counseling and coaching practice with a diverse team that brings a holistic approach to clients. We offer support both in person and through digital platforms such as telehealth. Consider us a safe haven that you can trust with care for your mental health needs. Visit our website to set up a consultation today.
Welcome back to the show. I'm back with Commissioner Cosmo Cirillo of West New York, a fellow Seton Hall Pirates. By the way, have you been out to some, I was going to say, have you been out to some basketball games this year?
So I have not. My focus has been in West New York, and that's where I've been the last couple of months.
All right, because I have seen him at games before, but not this year.
Yeah.
So I know, usually politicians like to stretch a truth, but that is honest, because I have not seen him at any games this year. Well, we miss you. Hopefully,
I look forward
after
to getting
the
back for
election.
next season. Yes.
Exactly, 100%. All right, Cosmo. So I kind of interrupted you. I'm rude. I'm sorry about that. Before we went out to the last commercial break, regarding some of the issues that you talk about, and I know we were talking off camera about the recreation in West New York. I was wondering if you can expand on that.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, with our rec programs, we have the largest amount of participants in our basketball program this year. Our soccer program has over 800 participants every single year. Our summer camp, we register over 1,000 kids, is free of charge.
Wow.
For 6 weeks in the summer for them to go in an entire day program. So we really want to expand and continue to expand the programming for our children. It's a great thing for the community in West New York, and I'm really proud of the work that our recreation director and his department has done in that regard since I've been there for the last 8 years.
Excellent. Yeah, one of the things that people who were mayor and who have moved up, like Senator Menendez and so on and so forth, have said that mayor is the toughest job they've ever had. I mean, only because you need to be accessible as much as possible to the public. How do you plan on doing that if elected?
So this is actually one of the cornerstones of my candidacy personally. I feel West New York needs a mayor that's going to be accessible to the residents, somebody who's going to be there for the residents. You can see in our neighboring towns, such as Union City and North Bergen, they have mayors that are dedicated to the community. And I myself will be ensuring that I'm going to be doing that by providing walk-in office hours at Town Hall on a regular schedule. I'm also going to do mobile office hours around the town, which hasn't been done before. And I want to make sure as I knock on doors, I give them my information to be able to reach out to me personally, because I want to get back to as many people as possible. So that's a commitment that I'm making to the residents of West New York, making sure that myself and my team are going to be accessible once we get elected in May.
And that's super important because, and I guess that's really where your experience comes, is very beneficial, because you have been at the local level as a committee person, as a legislative aide, as a Board of Education trustee, and now as a commissioner. People see you walking outside your house and on your main avenues, and they're saying, "Oh, Cosmo, by the way."
Absolutely.
So now, Cosmo, really quickly, you have a very, very, very daunting task, in my opinion. I mean, but there's no challenge that should go, without at least giving it an effort. You're going against former Congressman Albio Series.
I am.
Who's making his, return to West New York after spending 12 or I forget, over a decade in Congress, let's just say. And of course, former Mayor Felix Roque. I mean, you were a member of the HCDO, as they say. And it's funny how they kind of like kick you out when you're not, go supporting their candidates or not. Sure. What has changed with not having their supports, and how do you, I guess, what is your vision and your strategy to go against a former congressman and a former mayor in this race?
Obviously, I believe myself and my team are the best people to represent our town and be able to provide the best services to West New York for the next 4 years and beyond. Absolutely. I believe in democracy. So anybody that wants to put their name on the ballot, I encourage it and give people the choice and opportunity to run. And at the end of the day, it's my belief that the people of West New York that live there, that care about the community, that are invested in the community, are going to make this decision.
Excellent.
So I understand that the HCDO and the people around the county may be behind, obviously, a certain candidate. But my goal is to send my message to as many West New York residents as possible, because like I said, my team and myself are going to be talking to each and every one of them every single night between now and May 9th to let them know why we deserve to be elected.
Well, Cosmo Cirillo, best of luck, mayoral candidate and commissioner. I don't want this to be the last time. I was just wondering if you want to look in that camera right there, explain to any residents of West New York who are watching, which there are plenty, folks, what your where they can find more information on your campaign.
Sure.
And anything. The floor is yours. Anything you want to say?
Sure, absolutely. We have our website up and running. It's www.wnyforward.com. That's the slogan that we're running under, because we believe West New York needs to move forward and not backwards. You can follow us on Facebook and social media at WNY Forward. All
right, Cosmo Cirillo, thank you so much again. Now, in the future, I do want to go to West New York and meet your team, hopefully, and maybe do another segment in your campaign headquarters.
Absolutely.
Am I invited?
You're welcome anytime, any day of the week. We'll make it happen.
I love that. Thanks again. I really appreciate it, and best of luck.
Yes, go Pirates.
Yeah, go Pirates. Absolutely. All right, folks, we will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there. Welcome back to The Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano back in studio. And again, I had to digest the food, the great Greek food from Plaka Souvlaki, and walk basically across town to the studio to be joined by the person to my right who looks extremely familiar. And I'm sure you're wondering what the heck is going on. And it is our resident political analyst, Mr. Josh Sotomayor Einstein.
Now that we got that nonsense out of the way, welcome back. I'm your host with the most, Josh Sotomayor Einstein, on this episode of the Einstein Hour. That's right. I'm hijacking your television. Get ready. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
He wishes he could match my energy. He really does. But anyway, folks, so this is our 200th full episode of The Pulse with Peter B. And Josh and I are the OGs on the show. We've been here since the beginning when we were in the studio over in North Bergen. I was wondering if you want to tell the audience about our experience in the studios in North Bergen.
Well, every time we would go there, it's in a post-industrial apocalypse type neighborhood. So you feel like, are you going to be shanked by the bad guys in Mad Max? Is someone in a bad 70s leather jacket with some metal chains going to come out and just stab you with some rusty pipe or hit you in the head with a brick? It's really where Phil Murphy is driving New Jersey to eventually go, oh, what's past his prologue? So,
well, we'll save that for Bill Spadia, who you're going to be interviewing in a few weeks on this program.
Oh, so, terrific guy.
Exactly. So we were there for a few months, Josh, and then we decided to branch out on our own, but we do want to thank our friends in North Bergen. They did give us a start over there, despite what Josh talked about heading into the studio, what it was like. Josh, 200 episodes, buddy. This has been over 4 years. I mean, the only difference is that it looks like your waistline got a little bigger, but that's okay in the last 4 years. Did you think we were going to make it this far?
I don't even know where I am right now. All right. So, guys, in TV land, you've heard it. I've been held against my will for 4 years and 200 episodes. Please help. Send help.
Send help. In all honesty,
help. No, it's been a wonderful, wonderful time, despite the host of the show, and because of viewers like you out there on the TV and on the internets. We really appreciate everything that you do by watching our program, and of course the wonderful guests talking about food, sports, and politics, going-ons, and different events that are happening, not just in Hoboken, but across Hudson County and even in the inter parts of New Jersey.
Exactly. And we've said this before plenty of times, but we are still the highest rated cable access show in all of North Jersey. Our numbers are only growing, and they're growing because of viewers like you. And Josh and I cannot thank you enough for tuning in every week and just dealing with our nonsense. I mean, a lot of this, we try to inform the public as best as we can, but we don't like to consider ourselves journalists. We like to consider ourselves commentators. And I think that's exactly what we've had on the show for these 4 years.
Well, I'm definitely not a journalist.
Right.
And I don't pretend to be. You don't pretend to be, because we have opinions and we let them shine, even when they're wrong. His opinions, okay, always wrong. No facts involved.
Well,
but also I'd like to thank that everyone that's behind the camera, whether it's John and Skylar and everybody
Jim.
else, and Jim. I went blank on names for a second. I apologize. I can recognize face. It took me 2 years to remember his name.
Exactly.
So I'm just really bad with names. Faces I remember.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. So, Josh, we do have to go to a quick commercial break here, and I know you're not used to this. You're used to just basically talking for like 9 minutes straight. But before we go to commercial break, I need to know, in the first 200 episodes of The Pulse, and we're hoping for another 200, what was your favorite so far?
I don't know. I think it's that call that I got from you years ago where it's like, you want to do a show with me? And I'm like, I don't really understand what you're talking about, but sure.
Exactly. More on that when we come back. Folks, we will be right back on our 200th milestone episode. Welcome back to The Pulse with Peter B. And folks, we have said this multiple times in this segment, and we're going to say it plenty more times, and that is how thankful we are to you, the viewers at home, who keep watching us every week. We cannot thank you enough. And back with me, of course, is Josh Sotomayor Einstein, the man who's been on this journey with me since day one. But Josh, there are plenty of people behind the camera, and you started talking about them, and you couldn't remember half of them because, it's you.
I don't remember what day it is.
Exactly. And I think we need to mention them. And of course, it's our great videographer, John Edmonds, and Brady O'Malley, who was a production assistant and is now our videographer. Our former videographer, Greg Schultz. Greg, we miss you. And we know you're watching at home. And of course, our all-star production assistant, and her name is Skylar, and we're very, very lucky to have her. And then, of course, we have an extremely talented person who really makes the show look so, so good, and that is our editor, Jim Valver. Jim, thank you for all your hard work. We know you spend hours, making us look good. And, obviously you can do your best with the person to my right, but different story for a different time. And of course, we have our social media team, Josh, Mo and Hannah. We love you. We miss you guys. We hope to see you on a future show. You guys are doing phenomenal work over on our social media platforms. And also, I think we need to talk about some of our partners, of course. We need to talk about Dr. Pam at Hudson River Care and Counseling.
Wonderful practice.
We love you, Dr. Pam. We look forward to showcasing your work every month on the show. We should also talk about a new partner, which is Plaka Souvlaki, my good friend Nick Babalos. We were there last week trying to good food
Mediterranean, Greek food.
Excellent. Absolutely. And of course, our friends at Hudson Regional Hospital in Seacock is Dr. Kafaya and their team, led by Mr. Ron Simoncini, who does the PR there, who was on the show a little earlier
best
tonight.
Hospital.
Absolutely. And the multiple other people who have partnered with us in the past. If you want to come back, reach out to Josh. He'll be happy to take your phone call. And we look forward to some hopefully new partnerships in the near future. Right or wrong?
Well, 4 years ago, I partnered with the Big Brothers to have a young brother sent to me, and that was him, and I got him off the street, and I'm just so proud of the progress that he's made in the last 4 years.
Well, listen, Josh could tell you that I am the little brother that he's never had. Josh
and never wanted.
And never wanted as well. Josh is an only child, but I just like to keep him on his toes. You know what I'm saying? I think you need somebody to motivate you. And maybe
here comes a fat joke. I feel like a fat joke is coming.
Maybe we'll have him join a fitness center. It wouldn't look bad.
Over your dead body.
Over my dead body. Josh, 200 episodes. What can people at home look forward to going forward?
Well, we're going to keep on bringing the guests that, have eaten at our area's fine dining experiences and restaurants. We're going to keep on bringing people from the world of sports, whether it's sports media or former professional athletes. And we're going to keep on bringing people that are involved in the politics and government to talk about what's going on in our area, in our state, from interesting and different and diverse perspectives. And I think that's what people have seen on the show. I know that's what I've experienced being part of the show, and I look forward to many years to come.
Exactly. And of course, we mentioned the people behind the camera. We also want to mention the people in front of the camera, our amazing Places insiders, our foodies, Daria Peace, Krista Stucchio, and Megan Ixom. I mean, they're extremely talented. Folks, all I have to do is send them a text with a topic, and they come in well prepared. And I just, give them so much credit for being extremely talented. Very, very lucky to have them. And of course, our sports insiders, Tony Richardson. He's now, the football season's over. We're going to see a little less of him, but we'll hope to have him back really, really soon.
And he's a great man to arm wrestle.
I was going to say, yeah. You want to tell that story before we close the show here?
I was really bored because I do not have any interest in sports whatsoever. And so we were all hanging out, and there was like dozens of people that came up and were asking for pictures, and he was so happy to oblige. But since it was sports talk, I got bored and just blurted out, "You want to arm wrestle?" And my arm hurt for the next 3 weeks.
Exactly.
But I put up a good fight.
He put up a good fight, but he still lost.
I lasted way longer than most people thought, and that you're probably thinking out there in TV land that I did. Multiply that by 3. That's how long I lasted.
Just in arm wrestling, not for anything else. Anyway, Josh, I do want to thank you, buddy. You've been on this journey with me since day one. I can't do this without you, and I hope to see you for another 200 episodes going forward.
I mean, I hope the show continues as well for that long.
No, we don't need another rant for that, because you said. Thanks again, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure's mine.
All right, folks, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. I hope you have a great week, everybody.